During the final months of the Horus Heresy, the loyalist defenders of the Imperial Palace faced impossible odds. Arrayed against them was an unending horde, an impossible monolithic army that blotted the sky and darkened the land. The truest possible expression of the term unstoppable force. With guile, diplomacy, military might, and abominable warp-driven power, the Warmaster Horus Lupercal had forged together the greatest military ever fielded. So when Perturabo was given the order to break the Imperial Palace, he did so with Space Marine legions, Titan engines, Night Houses, smaller Space Marine warbands, Dark Mechanicus siege engines, robotic nightmares, tech troops, Traitor Imperial Army regiments, cultist armies, abhuman warbands, and of course, the eternally replenishing demonic forces of the warp. But in truth, there is no unending horde, no impossible monolithic army. There is no unstoppable force. No matter the military, no matter who commands it, or how badly they outnumber their enemy, any force can be outmaneuvered, or lured into overextending past where they can supply, or even into losses they cannot sustain. Every war contains places and opportunities that can allow a savvy commander to level the playing field. With a little bit of luck, one such place would allow Rogal Dorn and his forces to decapitate the traitor high command. It was called Saturnine. In order to defend his final fortress against the unrelenting armies of Horus Lupercal, the Emperor had given overall command of the Terran forces to his Stone King, the Praetorian of Terror, Primarch of the Imperial Fists, Rogal Dorn. Like Horus with Perturabo, the Emperor's commands for his Praetorian were simple. Hold the palace until a relief force can arrive, or until Horus can be defeated in the psychic realm. Again, like Perturabo, he had been charged with what seemed to be a simple order, but was in fact impossibly complex to execute. Within weeks of the siege beginning, Rogal was overseeing literally tens of thousands of individual conflicts across the continent-sized palace city. Unlike Perturabo, however, Dorn's problems were not quite so abstract. He cared not whether he outsmarted the Lord of Iron. Dorn just wanted to win, and as things stood, he was not winning. Surrounded, heavily outnumbered, and even more heavily outsupplied, Dorn was constantly seeking any edge he could find or create. It wasn't easy, as both he and the Lord of Iron knew each other so well that any attempt to gain a lasting advantage was foreseen and stopped by the other. Still, even the towering genius of the two commanding Primarchs had its limits. Eventually, one would find an opportunity or weakness the other had missed. It was inevitable. Despite Dorn's best efforts to be the victor in their contest, were it not for a mere stroke of luck, a chance encounter with the famed historian Kirill Sinderman, any opportunity for an Imperial victory would have evaporated with shocking alacrity. Of the thousands of battlefronts across the Imperial Palace, Dorn had identified 3 critical points that had to be held: Gorgon Bar, Colossi Gate, and the Eternity Gate spaceport. His brief conversation with Sinderman caused the Praetorian to re-examine weaknesses in the walls that he had already shored up. One had been reopened by the extended bombardment, and should it be widened, would create a potential decapitation strike that could win the traitors the siege in mere days. He had been wrong. Gorgon Bar, Colossi Gate, Eternity Gate Spaceport, and the Saturnine Wall. 4 critical zones, not 3. It was already going to be nightmarishly difficult to hold all 3. A 4th would be impossible. However, within crisis often lies opportunity, and this had the potential to be a monumental opportunity. A strike underneath the Saturnine Wall was precisely the move Dorn would have made in Perturabo's shoes. What's more, there was only one force the Lord of Iron could feasibly deploy for such a task. The Sons of Horus. Maybe even the Lupercal himself. This type of decapitation strike had all the hallmarks of a Horus-made plan. A devastating assault to crush the opposing high command with brutal speed and deceptive simplicity. This was the sort of action Horus had commanded personally all throughout the Great Crusade. Besides, the Praetorian had a hard time imagining the War Master handing over the glory of a coup de grace to another. If this was where Horus would finally make his appearance, the war could be ended with a simple ambush. And if not, the assault would still be led by high-ranking Space Marines, leading specialists. A potentially massive loss, even for the Traitor horde. Faced with a difficult choice, the Praetorian opted to sacrifice the port. The Traitors doubling their capacity to land troops and supplies on the surface would be a devastating blow, but it would not speed the Traitor victory nearly as much as a loss at the other crisis points. Rogal Dorn quickly and quietly began prepping the Saturnine Quarter. To best the Sons of Horus and land a decapitating strike of his own, Dorn would need to close the weakness once the enemy vehicles had entered the breach. To this end, he sought the expertise of techno-archaeologist Arkan Land, who was able to provide a fast-setting liquid rockcrete compound. He called it Lockcrete, that would not only stop the Sons of Horus from retreating back into the tunnels they had dug, but it would entomb any stragglers or vehicles that were still underground. As you can imagine, Dorn would need a lot of the substance, and the Martian began producing it en masse. That was only the beginning though. He would need seismic sensors, specifically designed communication devices, specialist operators, additional soldiers, teams to excavate, widen, and reinforce the Saturnine Quarter. But perhaps most importantly, a force of kill teams that could quickly dispatch any Sons of Horus that made it through. The warriors given such a task against arguably the best shock troops ever produced by mankind would have to be good. No, not good. Amazing. The very best Dorn could get his hands on without compromising the other critical zones. 7 hand-picked kill teams, made up of 100 Space Marines, each commanded by a legend. Names known the length and width of the Imperium, and if you've followed the Horus Heresy, you know them too. Kill Team Devotion, led by Sigismund of the Imperial Fists. Kill Team Brightest, led by Bel Sepetus of the Blood Angels. Kill Team Helios, led by Maximus Thane of the Imperial Fists. Kill Team Black Dog, led by Endred Ha, formerly of the World Eaters. Kill Team Strife, led by Nathaniel Garrow, formerly of the Death Guard. Kill Team 7th, led by Helig Galor, formerly of the Death Guard. And of course, Kill Team Naismith, led by Garviel Loken of the Lunar Wolves. Once the Saturnine Quarter had been turned into an ambush, its wall top fortified against an inevitable diversionary assault, all there was for Dorn to do was wait.